first interaction with you, there are certain things that I like to tell you about the approach of this section, that is Indian polity. You see, every section of the general studies paper, it has got its own approach, and we adopt different methods to study different sections which are there. For example, when you read economy, obviously you'll have to think in a different way, you'll have to approach the subject in a different way. Similarly, if you read international relations, and a separate approach. Similarly, when we talk about the Indian polity section, altogether a different approach is required here. Now, the first thing that comes in our mind, it is a misconception when we talk about Indian polity, is that Indian polity is only about the provisions of the Constitution, that you will have to learn all the articles. Generally, this is a common question that I have found among the students, that sir, if we'll have to remember all the articles of the Constitution. No, it's not like that. I said it is a misconception among most of the students as well as among the trainers also. But you see that it is not feasible also. There is practical reason behind it. Why I say, I have been teaching this subject since 2002, and as far as our experience goes, basically it is not a quiz contest. It is not a test of general knowledge, that what is Article 2, what is Article 3, what is Article 1, what is Article 15, what is Article 16. It's not like that. Basically, it is general studies. We need to develop an understanding about the various aspects. For example, if with the help of this smart board, if I discuss with you the process for the creation of new states, and then I will say that this process has been mentioned in Article 3 of the Constitution. So for you, the process is more important than Article number 3, because in the examination also the question will be, which of the following statement is correct regarding the formation of a new state? 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, such statements will be there. It is not that which of the following is correct regarding Article 3, which of the following is correct regarding Article 2. It is not like that. Similarly, with the help of this smart board, if I discuss with you the process for the removal of the judges of the Supreme Court, then for you the process is more important. It is not that you will be asked that what is Article 124, what is Article 124 clause 1. So basically the process is important to us, not that particular article number. So here in the class, why we are sitting? We are sitting here to develop a perspective on Indian polity section. It is not only about the articles of the Constitution, and there is a practical reason also that why I said that we are not supposed to mug up all the articles, because when you see the Constitution and if you read it article wise, you may not be able to understand the articles of your own also. Shall, should, underlining it hardly matters. And you are not the students of law also, that you need to have an idea about every word that has been mentioned in the article of the Constitution. So your 4 attempts will pass, but you will not be able to know all the articles also. And when we are on this side, it is very easy for a history teacher to say, you remember all the dates. It is very easy for an economy teacher to say, you remember all the data. It is very easy for a polity teacher to say that you remember all the articles of the Constitution. But when you are on that side, the things are not as easy as we think. It is not as easy. For example, you see that when we talk about a person, even a teacher cannot be an encyclopedia. And the teacher, basically he has been teaching the subject for long. So he may have developed an understanding for the subject because he has been teaching this subject since long. For example, you see, I have read this subject in my plus 2 only, means 11th, 12th. Then I read the same subject in my graduation. I read political science in my MA. I have done an MPhil and a PhD. So, means since the year 1991, means the date from which I started my journey, that is class 11th, I have been reading this subject. So, basically there will be difference between me and you. So, the thing is that even I am not an encyclopedia. I have not also been able to mug up all the articles of the Constitution. And when you are on the other side, it is very much difficult on your part also, because you have to read so many sections, nearly 13-14 sections are there. It is not only Indian polity that you will have to read. So, basically you will have to read Indian economy, geography, then history, and in history also ancient, medieval, world history, international. So, world history, everything you will have to read. Then disaster management, internal security, lot of things. So, it is not feasible on the part of the students to mug up each and every aspect of each and every section. If you devote so much of time only on mugging the articles, you will not do justice with the other aspects also. So, at the end of the day, your objective is not to mug up the articles. Your objective is to see your name in the merit list prepared by the UPSC. That is your only objective. You will find your friends, the so-called seniors, whom we call so-called seniors, who have been preparing this exam. मेरे को देखो बेटा, मैं भी अच्छा लगता हूँ देखने में. हाँ, मेरे को उधर, don't see that side. हाँ, you should see me. So, in the class only I am the hero. So, these are diversions. You see your friends, you keep on smiling, you will divert. So, in the class basically the highest degree of discipline is required. Why I say so? Because you see nearly 4 to 5 lakh students appear every year. And how many of them compete? Hardly 1000. And out of these 1000, nearly 300 students are those who have already competed. This year also, in the final list, out of 10, 5 were already there in the services. IPS officers, IRS officers, they are already in the services. Some of them may be in the state services also. So, the competition is very tough. It is the students who have made it very easy, the status symbol. But the examination is not very easy. That is why the highest level of professionalism is required when we start our preparation for this examination. That is why I told you to be very serious in the class, and you should be focused from day one. Now, what I was talking to you was that your so-called seniors, means those who have been preparing for long, they may have appeared in 1 main examination or 2 main examination or 3 prelims examination, but they have not competed. They will try to frustrate you with certain questions. These are all practical things. Hey, you are preparing? You say yes, yes. What is this article? What is this article? Then obviously you are not an encyclopedia from here and there. Then you know what the student will say. Ah, you know, I have remembered all the articles, but even then I have not competed in the examination. And you don't have even this article. Your answer should be that you kept on mugging the articles. That is why you did not compete. Your focus was on mugging the articles. So you kept on mugging the articles. That is why you did not compete. We need to develop an understanding of the things. That is very important. And when we talk about this paper 2, I'll tell you a bit of syllabus also, so that we will not go here and there. In paper number 2, there are 4 sections, and we have got paper 1, paper 2, paper 3 and paper 4 in the main examination. And in paper number 1, basically, if you see that there are certain aspects, your other teachers will tell you. In paper number 2, if you see, then we have got the Indian polity and the constitution. Then we have got the governance part. Then we have got some topics related to social justice and international relations. 4 sections are there. I am talking about the main syllabus. And then out of these 4 sections, questions of 250 marks will be asked. And when we see the past trends, questions of nearly 100 marks to 110 marks are asked from the Indian polity section. It is not that all, we can say, the 250 marks questions will be asked from the Indian polity section. Questions of 100 marks, 110 marks. And 50% of the questions will be nearly textual in nature. Textual in the sense, they will be from the textbooks, from the exactly what we will be discussing in the class. Then some of the questions will be based on your understanding. That understanding we will be developing in the class only, so that you will be able to answer the questions. We call them as unplanned questions. So textual questions as well as non-textual questions. So it is only one part. Some questions will be there from the governance part. Some questions will be there from the social issues, like we can say the government policies, programs related to unemployment, poverty, health, and then international relations. So combined together, it will be a 250 marks question, paper. Now, when we talk about the prelim syllabus, in the preliminary examination, certain topics have been specified. And if we see the trends, in the preliminary examination, we have seen only one trend. That is, the UPSC has no trend. What I said? The UPSC has no trend. This is the only trend that we have seen. You cannot exactly say that these many questions will be asked from history in this year's exam, in the next year's examination, or in the Indian polity section, or from the geography or current affairs portion. You cannot say so. We had seen that sometimes even 20 questions were asked from the Indian polity section, and in one of the prelims examination, only 8 questions were asked from the Indian polity section. It completely depends, So basically, there is no hard and fast rule that what you'll have to do is, you'll have to read, you can say the 20 questions will be asked. No. That is why generally you'll have to develop an idea about all the important topics which are there. All the topics are not very important. Some of the topics are very important from the examination point of view. You will have to focus on those topics. For example, if we talk about the parliament, then even in the worst days, Worst days means even when the least number of questions are asked. From the Indian polity section, we have seen that at least 2 questions have been asked in the preliminary examination from the parliament. Even out of 8 questions, 2 questions have been asked from there. So here what we see is that we need to be very much focused. And going further, if we talk about the approach of the preliminary examination, you see that in the preliminary examination, they have created basically a different type of atmosphere. The students only current affairs, current affairs, current affairs. But our experience clearly shows that if you focus on certain sections of the general studies paper, you will be able to compete in the prelims examination without focusing too much on current affairs. For example, you see that average 10 to 12 questions will definitely be asked from the Indian polity question. I am talking about minimum side, minimum side. So 10 to 12 questions from here. Then questions will be there from modern India. Questions will be there from your art and culture. So you will be able to answer nearly 25 to 30 questions based on these polity section, as well as we can say this. Then another area, geography. So basically if you focus on the traditional areas, you will be able, that is history, polity, geography and economy, the 4 major areas. You will be able to answer at least 50 questions in the examination. And what is required in the preliminary test? It is only 50 questions, 100 marks, 100 marks. But there should be no temptation on your part. Why the students do not compete? Negative marking is also there. Negative marking is also there. So basically you are not supposed to answer the question that you don't know. अब देखते हो ना, in when we talk about our religious practices like upvas, keeping roza, what we do? Temptation. The food is very tasty. We don't eat that food. Control over our temptations. This answer may be correct. Oh, I will not attempt it. I have attempted questions from the polity portion, 10 to 15 question, history, traditional areas, culture, art and culture. Questions are being asked from there. 50 questions I have done, 100. I will compete. So the target is not that. And then here and there some questions you can do. So basically you are not supposed to. So even if you talk to, आजकल तो current affairs, current affairs, current affairs, current affairs. But basically current affairs, why I am saying current affairs no doubt is important. But current affairs is really a very huge subject. Anything under the sun can be asked. And it is not feasible on your part to get prepared for all the attempts. So you need to be focused on the traditional areas. Then you will be able to answer somewhat. Yes, temptation has to be controlled in the examination center. That is the mantra of success. Then when we talk about this Indian polity section, there are 2 things that we mainly focus on the Indian polity section. First, the constitution, and secondly, the working of the political system. 2 things. You see, that most of the students, they focus on this aspect only. And that is the first thing I told you. That is, they try to mug up all the articles. They don't try to develop an understanding about the things. You see, why the constitution is important? Because the whole political system is based on the constitution itself, and then working of the political system. Both the things have to be read together. For example, if we discuss the preamble, then the textual things, like when the preamble was amended, what is the subject matter of the preamble, that is the constitutional part. But the dynamic part of the preamble, that is the preamble a part of the constitution or not? Then again, the words are there in the preamble, like the concept of sovereignty, socialism, secularism. So what is the relevance of these terms which are there in the constitution today? What is the meaning of this term? These are the aspects which are being focused nowadays by the UPSC. So if a student feels that he knows that 3 words were added by the 42nd Amendment Act, I know it. Every person who is preparing for any competitive examination in this country, he knows that thing, that 3 words were added in the preamble by the 42nd Amendment Act: socialist, secular and integrity. Everyone knows. But what is important here is that what you need to know is what is the concept of socialism, then how this concept of socialism is different from the concept of communism. Then after that, what is the Indian brand of or dimensions of Indian socialism, and if the concept of socialism relevant in the era of liberalization or not. So then when we talk about secular, you'll have to develop an understanding about the Indian concept of secularism, how the Indian concept of secularism is different from the Western concept of secularism. What is this concept of positive secularism? What is the debate going on in India with respect to secularism? A complete package. Because you see the type of questions which are being asked in the examination nowadays, that is, the students are being asked to write on the concept of positive secularism. They are being asked to write on the dimensions of Indian secularism. Then in the essay also you may be asked to write about secularism. So you need to develop an idea that what is Indian secularism. It is the concept which is based on the Nehruvian thought, Gandhian thought, what Gandhiji talked about secularism, what was the view of Pandit Nehru on secularism. You need to develop an idea. And then not only this, we'll also have to develop an idea that what are the scholarly debates going on in India with respect to secularism. For example, some scholars, they say that India is a secular country. Why? Because they have taken into consideration the constitutional provisions which are there with respect to secularism in India. Then some scholars, they say that India is not a truly secular state. So what they have taken into consideration, why they say that, why some of them go to the extent of saying that India is pseudo secular, India is not completely secular, only for the namesake it is secular. So we need to develop an understanding regarding these type of things. That is what I said, it is polity. It is polity. It is not the constitution only that the teacher will ask you and oh, article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not like that. Then when we talk about the word democracy, Then what is the root of this concept of democracy? Then what are the different meanings of democracy? Democracy as a form of government, democracy as an ideal in the society, then democracy as a political system, how we can say what type of democracies are there, direct democracy, indirect democracies, what are the elements of direct democracy, then whether direct democracy may be feasible in India or not, what are the loopholes in the functioning of democracy in India, what are the challenges before democracy in India, all these type of things. So you'll have to develop such an idea. Why? Because in the interviews you may be asked some questions. So if you don't have an idea regarding the term, you cannot say, oh, that country is a democratic country, that country is an undemocratic country. You should be theoretically sound also. Similarly, when we talk about the other words which are there in the preamble, like the concept of liberty, what is the meaning of this term liberty? Because everyone had mugged up this aspect, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. But what is the meaning of liberty? Statements will be there in the examination with respect to relationship between liberty and equality, liberty and law. So you need to develop an understanding about it. That is what I said, a complete package. Then moving on some other topics. For example, if we discuss the union executive, so we will be discussing the president, we will be discussing the council of ministers, we will be discussing the attorney general. That is the constitutional aspect. But what is the role of the prime minister? That is, whether the prime minister is the primus inter pares or not, means the first among the equals, or he is more than that. Such type of issues are, we can say, part of the working of the political system. Similarly, if we discuss the governor, the state executive, so the governor's office, who appoints the governor, these are very nominal things. Then the dynamic aspects, why not an elected governor? Then in the news we have heard that the governor's office is a controversial office. Why it is being said that the governor office has evolved as a controversial office? So you'll have to develop an understanding regarding it. Not only this, what we have also seen among the students is that they are not even aware that how the government formation takes place. How the government formation takes place. For example, suppose we are having elections now in the states of Jharkhand, in the state of Maharashtra. How the government formation will take place? Suppose if a political party or a pre-poll coalition means the coalition before the election. So it is there in Maharashtra also, you see they have got two coalitions, one led by the Bharatiya Janata Party, one consisting of the NCP, Congress and we can say the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray group. So two pre-poll coalitions are there. So what is this concept of pre-poll coalition? So in case none of the political parties get a majority, either in Jharkhand or in Maharashtra, what the governor will do? So you need to develop an understanding that the governor, if a political party or a pre-poll coalition gets a majority, then the governor will appoint the leader of that political party as the chief minister. But suppose if none of the political party gets a majority, then what the governor will do? The governor will use his discretionary powers. The governor will see that which coalition, that is even after the election the coalitions can be there. We call them as post-poll coalition. So if a political party is in a position to form the government or not, if not, then the post-poll coalition. So it completely depends on the governor. The governor may appoint the leader of that political party whom he believes can provide a stable government. So it is the discretionary power of the governor. So you need to develop an understanding about it. Then only you can say the governor's role is controversial here. Here, even though Bharatiya Janata Party was not in majority, it was asked to form the government because none of the political parties was there. So until unless you will not develop such an understanding, you will not be able to read, understand even the newspapers also. And even you will not be able to answer questions in the examination also. So you need to develop such type of understanding. That is the purpose of this class. So suppose when we discuss the parliament, the constitutional provisions, the provisions related to the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, the speaker's office, that we will be discussing under this part. How the bills are passed, everything is mentioned in the constitution. But the second part, how the parliament has been working, that whether the parliament has declined in the contemporary times or not. So there are a lot of issues related to the parliament. For example, there is absenteeism among the members, then the parliamentary committees are also not working well. So all these are the, then we can say indiscipline among the members. That is the dynamic part. Why we say that the parliament has declined in the contemporary times. So it is the constitutional aspect and how your political system is working. Similarly, when we talk about the judiciary, so here under the constitutional part, the provisions with respect to the Supreme Court, the provisions with respect to the high courts, they are important from the prelims point of view. That is one part. But coming to the second part, that is what are the issues in Indian judiciary. Then after that, the judicial behavior like judicial activism, public interest litigation, how public interest litigation and judicial activism have changed the course of India. We can say how the Supreme Court has become the custodian of the rights of the people, how it has become the custodian of the protector or the protector of the environment in India. Such type of questions can be asked in the examination. Then what is this concept of judicial independence? What is this concept of judicial accountability? What are the reforms that are needed in Indian judiciary? That is the dynamic part. So both the aspects have to be read together. Then it will be polity. Otherwise, it will only be the constitution. So in the class, our focus will be on both. That is on the constitutional aspects as well as we can say the dynamic aspect. Then how we will be approaching it? You see that your base will be the lecture notes. Lecture notes means we will be discussing the things in the class. With the help of this smart board, I will discuss the various aspects and then I will make you to write those things, because once you hear and once you write, the things will be there in your mind. So your base will be the lecture notes, and our experience shows that in the examination, that is prelims examination, at least 90% of the question, that is minus the current affairs part, the questions will be there from the lecture notes only. That is our guarantee. That even in the last year's examination also, we had got crash courses, and that is from the QUP, we call it as the quality enrichment program that we start in the month of March. It is a crash course. So even from that crash course also, nearly 90% of the questions were asked in the prelims examination from our section. And so it will be your base. Even the questions in the main examination will be based on the themes that will be discussed in the class. Then after that, you can substantiate it with the study material given to you by our institution. Our institution will be providing you the study material also in the form of books, so that you need to substantiate it also. After that, I do not ask the students to read NCERT too much, because many of them may have read it in their schools also. So once you have, that is a pre-preparation phase, that is the NCERT classes. So NCERT, even if you may not have read, it hardly matters, at least in my section, because I will try to your NCERT. NCERT mein kya hai? The basics are there, basics are there. So in the class we'll start with the basics only, and so that you will be able to develop an understanding. For example, if I use any term here, I will explain that term to you, that what is the meaning of this term, because even the NCERTs you will not be able to read of your own nowadays. ठीक है, अभी तो बुक वाले को ही बोलो वो पूरे 6 to 12 NCERT will have to read, तो इतना किताब आपको दे देगा. ठीक है, that is a loophole of our education system, because in the schools we are not serious. That is why अभी भी आपको NCERT पढ़वाते हैं. ठीक है, ये चीज. So, but in the class I will try to be your NCERT, so you should not be worried. We will start from the basics. Then what you people need to do is that you people you can have a copy of PM Baksh's book. When I say PM Baksh, this is not, we can say, compulsory reading. It is not compulsory reading. PM Baksh's book has got 2 volumes. One is the smaller volume, other is the larger volume. And why I have asked you to have a copy of this PM Baksh's Constitution of India. It is not bare act. Bare act means only the articles are mentioned. One side Hindi, one side English. It's not like that, because the explanations are not there. But in PM Baksh's book, basically, the articles have been explained with the help of the judgments of the judiciary also. So that can be handy for you. In the class, I may miss some points. Obviously, you can get some ideas related to the interpretation of the articles. That is one good aspect of this PM Baksh's book. But if you don't want to have this class, the notes will be sufficient, the lectures will be sufficient. But if you don't want to read this book also, but sometimes in the class I will tell you the summary of the articles, and if you wish to see that, okay, what is there inside this article, for that purpose this PM Baksh's book will be handy for you. Or you can rely on your technology, means you can download any app on Constitution of India. But frankly speaking, technology has got its advantages as well as disadvantages. We had not read the things when this technology was developed. We had read this technical, we can say, the books only. And there is a, we can say, very positive impact of reading a book, and there is a negative impact of reading the things from your mobile phone. The screen time increases, and the more the screen time, the mental health it suffers. Yes, the mental health suffers. Your eyesight will suffer. So it has an impact, negative impact also. Books are always better. That is why I encourage my students to go for offline classes, not for online classes. Because the more the screen time is, the more impact on the mental health. और ऐसे भी ऑनलाइन में एक और निगेटिव एस्पेक्ट है, दैट इज, ठीक है, कभी आपकी क्लास छूट जाए, दैट इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग. चलो ठीक है, यू आर नॉट एबल टू अटेंड द क्लास फॉर ए पर्टिकुलर रीजन, so you can see the videos which are there, but you may see yourself that the lecture that you will be attending here for 2.5 hours, the same lecture when you read it online later on, it will take nearly 3.5 hours or 4 hours also. And the approach when you read the things at the home may be casual also. Classroom, you get up in the morning, you get prepared, you come, yes, routine life is there. But online classes, that routine may be missing. So advantages and disadvantages are also there. But if you wish, you can download an app on the Constitution of India. The Government of India's Constitution is also there, which is regularly updated. So, क्या स्क्रीन टाइम फिर तुम दे रहे हो, मोबाइल देख रहे हो? नहीं देखो बेटा, तुम्हारे लिए बोल रहा हूँ, अपने लिए थोड़ी ना बोल रहा हूँ. मेरे को तो जो होना था हो गया ना. तो फोन आ रहा था तो बेटा बंद कर दो, तभी से फोन आ रहा है, हाँ बंद कर दो. हाँ, घर में बता दो कि मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ, घर वाले कभी भी आपको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करेंगे. उनका ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट में फोन में बात करना नहीं है, घर वालों का क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि तुम आईएएस ऑफिसर बनो, तो घर वाले कभी डिस्टर्ब नहीं करते हैं, नेवर। ये जो फ्रेंड्स है ना, दिन भर कोई काम नहीं है, काम अपना कर लिए, तुमको डिस्टर्ब करेंगे, एक बार फोन कर लो और तुम पागल हो जाओ, उसका फोन आ रहा था। और पता है, व्हेन यू विल बी अनसक्सेसफुल, आई एम टेलिंग यू विथ माय एग्जांपल, आजकल के यूथ को बहुत बुरा लगता है व्हेन द टीचर्स दे से समथिंग। अभी जब आप अनसक्सेसफुल हो गए ना, हम लोग के टाइम पे तो ये खिलौने नहीं थे, मोबाइल वोबाइल, these things were not there, these are all distractions, इसलिए हम लोग का मेंटल हेल्थ भी ठीक रहता है, we are not very much disturbed in life। ये जो ऐसे ऐसे करते रहते हैं ना बच्चे, पता नहीं किसका फोटो दिख जाए, पता नहीं who has phoned us, वो उनके इम्पैक्ट करता है, they are not able to concentrate nowadays। So this is basically, that is why the success rate is not, it is not the government who is responsible for your failure। गवर्नमेंट इज 1000 सीट तो यूपीएससी का निकालती है ना, अब आप उसमें से यू आर नॉट वन ऑफ देम, इट इज योर फॉल्ट, बिकॉज 1000 स्टूडेंट्स दे कंपीट, सो गवर्नमेंट उनको भी तो जॉब दे दिया ना। इफ यू आर ए फेलियर, देन you'll have to blame yourself for that, and technology is one of the reasons why the youth is going here and there, it is reason। so you need to be very much focused। अभी सोचो कि आई एम डूइंग माई वर्क, अब मैं भी अपना मोबाइल फोन ऑन रख के बार बार देखते रहूं किसका फोन आता है, हाउ यू विल फील, आई विल नॉट बी एबल टू कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन माई वर्क। इफ आई टेक क्लासेस फॉर 7.5 hours per day, it is a second class today, so basically morning 8 o'clock we have been taking classes, even ma'am is taking classes, PSI are optional from morning, but we never see the telephone in the classes, we concentrate, we are focused, so that makes a difference। टीचर का बार बार फोन आता है, वो बाहर जाता है, कैसा लगेगा, how you will feel। so basically these habits have to be stopped from the very beginning, then you will be able to concentrate। now so here these basic things, I do not suggest my students to read Lakshmikant's book, simple reason is that everyone who is preparing for any competitive examination in this country, he is moving with that book, he has, but most of them are failures, so even by reading that book you are not, we can say you have not successful even in the PNS examination। so basically in the examination it is not that students sometimes, sir I have read Lakshmikant 4 times, so what, it is not a status symbol, so what, so reading a book is not very important, I have written that, only objective is you are supposed to encircle the right answer and then you are supposed to write answers in the main examination, you will compete in the examination, that's all। so even by reading any book, even by attending the lectures, you are able to we can say answer the questions, your work is done। and you see, suppose in the class we discuss the impeachment of the president, and suppose you go home and you start reading impeachment of the president from any other book, the process of impeachment will never change। so it is a simple wastage of time that students after the class go and read a book, impeachment of the president, and they mark it with their green marker, it is very popular among the students, green marker, every word they will mark, it is not making the book Rang De Basante, it is not the book, you are coloring it, but it is okay, the teacher had discussed impeachment of the president, you go home, close your eyes, okay, this is the process, resolution can be introduced here, these many members will be introducing it, then it has to be passed by this much of majority, so this is the process। then you see the 10-year question papers, what questions have been asked from the impeachment of the president, your work is done, there is no need to read it from 10 books, you need to, because you see, suppose you sit before me for 2.5 hours, and after that again I will tell you to read these books, I will give you a book list, why you people will sit before me, what is the purpose? So the purpose is to save your time, that is, we have, through our experience, we have got the expertise to get you acquainted with the necessary things from the examination point of view। now coming to this aspect, that is working of the political system, how the political system works, here no textbooks, nothing, issues will be discussed in the class also, then here basically any national newspaper reading the newspaper from the current affairs point of view and from the polity point of view, that is this section point of view, is something different. And why the national newspapers are important, I'll tell you. The 50% of the questions in the main examination, they will be textual in nature. And nearly 50% of the questions will be non-textual in nature, based on current affairs. For example, in this year's main examination, there was a question with respect to merging of the rural local bodies with the urban local bodies. You see, a teacher of Indian polity will never discuss these aspects in the class. He will tell you 73rd Amendment Act, 74th Amendment Act, these are the aspects. But why this question was asked in this year's main examination? Because first of all, Pune became a municipal body which had incorporated some rural areas, and then basically the Pune Municipal Corporation was extended and some gram panchayats were included. So the jurisdiction was increased. Not only this, this year in the month of January, the Tamil Nadu government had constituted a committee to give suggestions to merge the urban local bodies with the rural local bodies. It was in the news, current affairs, question was asked, merits and demerits. So, such type of current affairs based questions will be there. Similarly, if we talk about another question, a question was asked on electoral reforms, committees on electoral reforms, with a special emphasis on simultaneous elections, one nation, one election. So, it was in the news because the government had constituted the Ramnath Kovind committee to give recommendations regarding it, to give suggestions regarding it. So, it was a current affairs based question. So, basically then if a question is asked on the basis of we can say a statement by the or a theme which is being given importance by the Prime Minister. For example, when the government had come for the first time, that is after 2014, the emphasis of the Prime Minister was on cooperative federalism. He always talked about cooperative federalism. So, in one of the main examination, the question was there on cooperative federalism. In the same year, an essay was also asked on cooperative federalism. Then after that, the theme of the Prime Minister's speech changed. He started talking about competitive federalism, and a question was also asked. During the classes, we will be discussing the PYQs also. So, he talked about competitive cooperative federalism. So, a question was based on, in one of the examinations, cooperation, competition. So, the themes are caught, and on that basis the questions are asked. Then in the year 2020, what we had seen was that there was the 250th session of the Rajya Sabha. In that year, in the main examination, there was a question with respect to the relevance of the Rajya Sabha. That Rajya Sabha has evolved from a stepney to the Lok Sabha to a more, we can say, important chamber. So, basically, why this question, random questions are not asked? Because in that year we had the 250th session of the Rajya Sabha. Theme based questions. That is why you should be aware that what is going on. What type, then you will be able to, we can say, get an idea that what type of questions are being framed. Then after, we can say the mid 1990s, means when we entered the era of coalition politics at the central level, we have seen that there has been decline in the president's rule in the states, state emergency. This year there was an exam question in the main examination that since the mid 1990s, there has been a decline in the cases of precedence rule. What can be the reasons that can be attributed to it? So, coalition politics, rise of the regional political parties, their influence in national politics. The governments basically, they are based on the support of the regional political parties also. You see, the Telugu Desam party, it is a regional political party, it is supporting the government at the central level. Then we have got the other smaller political parties which are supporting the government. So there is change in the political scenario. So we need to develop such an understanding also, because these are all understanding based questions. So even such type of questions will be asked. So the newspaper will help you in developing such an idea. Now, I have not written the Hindu or any newspaper as such. Why? The reason being very straightforward. That is, I do not ask the students to read this newspaper or that newspaper. Way back in 2011, one of my students was appearing in the personality test, means the interview. And he was asked a question that which newspaper do you read? He said, sir, the Hindu. He was very, the Hindu and the board will be influenced. He reads the Hindu. You know, the supplementary question was that, don't you think that it gives you an ideological biasness? It will give you an ideological biasness. The student had never thought about such type of question, that usko the class where teacher said, hey, you read the Hindu. We read the Hindu and I will compete in the examination. But giving an ideology, because if you see the most of the content of the Hindu, then the columnists, the scholars who contribute in the Hindu, they are leftists. Means they are, we can say, for a change, they are radicals. And they are more critical about the government's policies, whoever the government is. Not the present government, any government that comes to power. They are critical. They want a radical restructuring of the system. So, an administrator must be a very balanced personality. So, that is why, and nowadays you see, we have got different newspapers. We have got the Hindu also, the Indian Express also, and you may have seen, it is written, the centrist view, then the leftist view, the rightist views, the different views are given. Now, basically, here you need to go through the newspapers. The leader articles are important in developing your viewpoints. And then, from specifically our point of view, how you need to approach it. For example, in the class, if I discuss judicial reforms with you, the same points with some modifications from batch to batch, we discuss it. But the same thing, basically, we teach to thousands of students every year. How your answer will be different from others. So, when we will be discussing judicial reforms in the class, my work will be over. What you people need to do is that, after the class, you need to make value additions. How to make value additions? Suppose, if I discuss this particular topic with you, then when you go home, then Google, then use the technology. Articles on judicial reforms in the Hindu, articles on judicial reforms in the Indian Express, articles on judicial reforms in the Tribune. Tribune is also a good newspaper. Articles on judicial reforms in the Statesman, in the Hindustan Times. So, you will get the articles which are there in the archives also. And then, if you feel that, okay, this reform is better, you can add on those things. It is not that whatever the teacher has said, you should do that. No, you need to do value additions. Because, you see, in a coaching institution, the same thing is read by all the students. But out of all the students, only few of them they compete. Why? Because they do value additions. The more the value additions that you make, the more the chances of competing are there. So, it is not that, it is not a status symbol. It is not, we can say, the effort of the tutor. The tutor, what he can do? He can just give you a guideline that, okay, you need to read like this. We don't take the, we can say, the credit of your success. Why? Why we should take? It is 90% of your work. because we have discussed only one topic with you. मैं थोड़ा सा खाली polity आपको पढ़ा दिया, बस that's all. But you have read of your own, you have done value additions, you have developed an approach so that you can write your answers in the main examination. Whole credit should go to you. Only 10% us, 90% yours. But for that you'll have to work. So here value additions have to be made like this. Then View magazine. View magazine. There are two types of magazine. One is news magazine, one is view magazine. When we say view magazine here will include the Frontline, India Today, Outlook. These are view magazines. And view magazine maybe, if you after some days, abhi to chalo theek hai, you may have started your preparation afresh. Some of you may be from a vernacular language, maybe from Hindi medium, you may have done your studies. So English may be a bit difficult for you, that is used in some of the magazines and the newspapers. So what you can do is that you can start with the easier magazines like India Today, Outlook. So you can develop and we can say the approach. But later on, when you have developed that skill, linguistic skill, the understanding, then you can switch over to the Frontline. Frontline is a fortnightly magazine, and in the Frontline basically the event of the month is covered in detail. No doubt it is also having a leftist orientation, but yes, overall it is a good magazine, and 4 to 5 pages of Frontline are dedicated for international politics also. So that will be handy for you. So you will get an idea. For example, the conflicts are going on in different parts of the country, different parts of the world. So there will be article on world politics. You will get an idea regarding it. Just read it, make some notes regarding it. Then IR maybe that will be helpful for you. Then after that, some essential readings are also there, like Yojana and Kurukshetra. And your teachers will also tell you about these things. These are government publications, Yojana and Kurukshetra. And you will get good articles there, and the data which is given in the Yojana and Kurukshetra, they are considered to be authentic because these are government publications. And you will get good articles on that. And suppose you need to develop an understanding on a government project. So the articles are there. Good governance, climate, these are the issues which are dealt with in Yojana. And apart from it, one another thing that I advise my students, it is to watch Rajya Sabha television. It is not stereotype preparation. कभी टाइम नहीं है, चलो ठीक है, राज्यसभा टेलीविजन डिबेट्स यू गूगल अब अपना उसमें यूट्यूब में, एंड you will see why I suggest the students to watch this Rajya Sabha television debates, because it is not like the other television debates where you will see the anchors barking at each other or at the hosts, and they will try to prove that no, they are the most knowledgeable person in the world. ये देखो जितने भी private channels are there, Aaj Tak, every other channel, the anchors, they try to dominate. It is not a debate. We can say it is just a fight. But if you talk about the Rajya Sabha television debates, the panelists are the professors of the universities. For example, they will be discussing an issue, alarming issue of the society, domestic violence, or we can say suicide. Then they will be calling the experts. We can say the psychologist, the professor of psychology from Delhi University, Jawaharlal Nehru University. If they are talking about environment, they will be calling the experts in that field, and your knowledge base will be enriched by that. So it is not only Lakshmikant's book, oh, I will be successful. It's not like that. You'll have to go beyond that. Then only you will be able to see your name in the merit list. So basically, you need to follow this type of approach. Then you will be able to develop an understanding with respect to this aspect as well as this aspect. Now, whenever we talk about this polity, the first thing that comes in our mind when we talk about the polity is the constitution, because here you also see what we had written, constitution, because the whole political system is based on the constitution of a country. Now, when we talk about this term constitution, now what comes in our mind when we hear this term constitution? The first idea that comes in our mind that it is a document. What type of document? It is a legal document. So, it is a document having special legal sanctity. So, this is the first idea that comes in our mind when we hear this word constitution. It is a document and which has got a special legal sanctity. Legal sanctity means having the backing of law. If an individual or an organization will not abide by the provisions which are there in this document, then the law will take its own course. That is, we can say, the backing of the law. Now, students sometimes ask me that, sir, why we have used this word special here? Why not we have simply written a document having legal sanctity? Here the logic is that all the laws, they have got the sanction. You can go to the court, but what is so special about the constitution is that all the laws emanate from the constitution itself. Who authorizes the parliament to make a law on a particular subject? It is the constitution. So, constitution is the source of all the laws. That is why it is a document having special legal sanctity. Now, when we talk about any document, suppose if the constitution is lying here and we all have got inquisitive mind, or suppose if I am carrying a book, which book the teachers follow, which books he reads. Similarly, suppose if a document is there called the constitution, we may feel to see that, hey, what is there inside this constitution? People are talking about constitution, constitution. Now, when we open the pages, when we turn the pages of the constitution, what we find? We see that it contains the principles and functions of the organs of the government of a state. So, it contains the principles and functions of what? Of the organs. Organs of what? The government and of a state. Now, each and every word, how many of you are from science background in the class? How many of you are from commerce background? Some of us. How many of you are from humanities background? History, economics, political science. हाँ, तो कॉमर्स वालों को थोड़ा ज़्यादा पढ़ना होगा, ठीक है ना, हाँ बिल्कुल तुम लोग अलग से आए हो ना, थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्ट डेवलप करना, मैं आई विल टेक केयर ऑफ दैट, कोई उसमें आपको चिंता करने की बात। आई यूज टू टीच इन अ कॉलेज ऑल्सो, एंड वो मैं एक प्राइमरी टीचर टाइप से द प्रिंसिपल यूज टू यूज मी। हाउ? इन फर्स्ट ईयर व्हेन द स्टूडेंट्स आर फ्रेश, सो बोलते थे अरे कुमुद यू नीड टू टीच फर्स्ट ईयर, वो नए बच्चे हैं ना, वो बुजुर्ग टीचर लोग आएंगे, वो भाषण देके चले जाएंगे, वो बेचारे समझ नहीं पाएंगे कुछ, so they need to be handled very carefully because just from class 12th you are coming to a new atmosphere that is in the college, so बच्चों को पढ़ाने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, ठीक है ना, साइंस और जो अपने बैकग्राउंड के, बाकी तो कुछ लोग। हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव रेड पॉलिटिकल साइंस इन योर कॉलेजेस? आपने पढ़ा, कहाँ से पढ़े, फ्रॉम वेयर यू हैव रेड? हैदराबाद, ओके, एंड अदर्स? लखनऊ यूनिवर्सिटी। आप डीयू से, किस कॉलेज से? केशव महाविद्यालय से, तो यही केशवपुरम में है, पीतमपुरा में। नाउ सो आई विल ट्राई टू मेक द थिंग्स इजियर फॉर यू। सिर्फ आपको क्या करना है, एक ही काम करना, यू नीड टू कॉन्सेंट्रेट, ठीक है, ऑन दिस एस्पेक्ट। नाउ हियर यू सी दैट वट एवर वर्ड्स आई विल बी एक्सप्लेनिंग टू यू, I'll be whatever words I will be using here, I'll be explaining the meaning. Now forget what we have written here. I have written here principles and functions of the organs of the government of a state. Now first of all, coming to this meaning of the term state, we need to understand it. देखो, there is a particular way of writing the lecture notes for the UPSC examination also. There is a particular way, सब चीज का एक तरीका है. That is why you people come to a coaching institution, and here you see it is not a lecture that the teacher will give the lectures and then he will go, but basically here everything has got a pattern, everything has to be very scientific. You see, this is your running notes, and I will give you some additional information. For example, I will be telling you the meaning of the state, I will be telling you the meaning of the government, then only you will be you will be coming to know about the organs and then their principles and functions. So the additional information that I will be giving you, what you can do is that you can write here, and after completing you can just make a table, okay, within the table. Okay, the teacher was discussing this point and in between he had discussed these aspects, so that between this point and the next point you will be able to correlate it. Otherwise, when you revise the lecture notes, you will go here and there. Arey, in what sense the teacher was discussing it? Because many a times it is possible that we may not be mentally present in the class. There can be some distractions, not a big deal. We all are human beings. So there should be a clear-cut idea that these are the additional information that the teacher gave. Come to the next point. First of all, I was talking to you state. What is this meaning of the term state? You see, when we talk about state, state means different things at different places. For example, if we talk about state in terms of India, then by the states we mean units. Haryana, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, Goa, Sikkim, Manipur, states. When we talk about the chapter on fundamental rights, the chapter on directive principles of state policy, the state here will mean any government agency. Any government agency. The state shall not discriminate means the central government, that is your parliament, your executive, your council of ministers, or the state government, or even panchayati raj institutions, the municipal bodies, all will come under the state. They will not discriminate among the citizens. The state shall not discriminate. So here the government, whether it is the central government, whether it is the state government, or we can say the local self-government, that should not discriminate. So here the meaning is different. So in general parlance, that is what we had seen, units, Haryana, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, Sikkim. But when we talk about the state as a concept in political science, as we are using here, state will mean an entity having 4 elements. You can write it. लिखना heading लिखना state. State is an entity having 4 elements. Population, territory, government, and sovereignty. Four elements of a state. Population and territory, they are the physical basis of a state. You can see them, that okay, these people are living in the state, and population of a state cannot be fixed, but territory has to be fixed. Territory has to be fixed. So this population means the people must be living within a defined territory. It has to be fixed. Then when we talk about government, government is the political basis. And sovereignty is the spiritual basis. You can feel it, you cannot see it. Now, you people may have heard this concept of population, territory, government, but some of you may not have an understanding about this concept of sovereignty. Now, when we talk about sovereignty, sovereignty is the supreme decision making power. Now, when we use this term sovereignty in our individual context, we all are sovereign over ourselves. In what way? First of all, what type of clothes we will be wearing, we can decide. Then what type of food we will be having, we can decide. To whom we will be talking to, we can decide. So, we are sovereign over ourselves. It is said, over his mind, body and soul, an individual is free. Over his mind, body and soul, an individual is free. So, we all are free. If you don't like a certain person, you will not talk to him or her. If you want to have a certain type of food, you can have that food. If you want to dress like, we can say, you can want to just wear a t-shirt and shorts, you can wear that. It is your choice. Yes, it is your choice. So, over his mind, body and soul, an individual is free. But here, when we are talking about the sovereignty of a state, a state enjoys two types of sovereignty. Internal and external. Internal sovereignty means laws of the state are binding on all the individuals and organizations within the state. So, laws will be binding on every individual, every organization within the territory of the state. Now, when we talk about external sovereignty, that is the foreign relations are conducted without external pressure, that is independent foreign policy. Now, when we analyze this concept of sovereignty, this internal sovereignty may be enjoyed even by the units. Even we also enjoy the internal sovereignty here. Whom we will allow in the class or even in the premises, this is our own decision. आप अपने घर में किसको allow करोगे, it is your decision. So, then not only this, internally also, if you talk about this sovereignty, some states have got their own laws related to certain things. They can make laws on the subjects which are there in the state list. For example, there is prohibition in the state of Bihar and Gujarat. Prohibition in the sense there is ban on the liquor, ban on manufacturing, sale and consumption of liquor is banned. So, anyone who will be visiting these states, obviously the person will have to follow the rules and regulations of that state. So, to some extent they are also sovereign. But that is, and then, but suppose if a larger law is there, obviously if the law of India is there, then the law of these units, they will take a back seat. And that is why you say, when some people they say, hey, will not follow this the law, what we say, these people are challenging the sovereignty of the country, because they are saying that we will not follow the law. It means you are challenging the sovereignty of the country. Now, you see that population, territory and government, these are there with the units also. Tamil Nadu, Sikkim, Manipur, Gujarat, Maharashtra, they have got population, they have got territory, they have got government also, and to some extent they have got this internal sovereignty also, but they do not enjoy complete sovereignty. Means they cannot make a law on foreign policy. For example, have you ever heard foreign policy of Florida, foreign policy of Texas? No, it is foreign policy of United States of America. That is why when the Kerala government, it appointed an officer to look into the interests of the people of Kerala who are living abroad, the central government objected, hey, it is not your domain. It is not your domain. It is the domain of the central government. Foreign policy is the domain of the central government. You cannot do that. You cannot run a parallel government here. So Kerala is listening. It is India that will listen. We have got the Indian embassy there. And if any Indian citizen faces any problem, it is not your state government's responsibility. It is the central government's responsibility. So basically you see that here this is the attribute which differentiates the units between the state. हाँ, हाँ. When we say, that is, when you say the decisions may be political in nature, but when we say sovereignty, it is a feeling that yes, we are sovereign. That is the feeling. That is a spiritual thing. In a spiritualism, what we do? We feel it. We feel it. We feel it. And that can be done by making policies and decisions, that is policies and programs. So your policies and decisions can be political in nature. That can be administrative in nature. But that is a state of mind. This spiritual, no, I can take my own decision. That is the sense that yes, we are sovereign. We are having, we can say, the power to take decisions. Here we are talking, not we can say in the term that we may be thinking of. We are talking it in the context. Because in the social sciences, text and context, these are two different things. So the contextual approach is also taken into consideration. In what context we are talking about? Because we have taken political basis, means these are the people who are elected by the government, done. So they take the decisions, no doubt, all the decisions they are taken by them. So they are the political basis, but it is the feeling that yes, we are supreme. We are talking about that feeling. That is why we have put it under the, it is not me, the political scientists have put it under the spiritual basis. Now, this is, we can say, if you talk about this aspect, this is one of the questions which was asked in the prelims examination, in one of the prelims examination. That is why we start from the very basics. That is, which of the following statement is correct regarding or is an appropriate definition of the term state. So it is a group of people residing within a defined territory, having a political authority and the power to take decisions. That is the supreme decision making power. They have not mentioned it, these terms, but yes, the explanation part. So the UPSC basically wants to test our understanding, that is, if the student has understood the concept of the state or not. That is why we start with the basics. Now, ये तो हुआ the concept of sovereignty, internal sovereignty, external sovereignty. Now coming to this term government. Now if someone will ask you that what is a government? You may have got your siblings also, younger brother, younger sisters. You may have got your relatives also. You can be a mausi, you can be a mama, you can be a chacha also. You can be a bua also. You can be an uncle also. Now you are preparing for the UPSC examination. Suppose many of you, how many of you are not from Delhi? You are from outside Delhi. How many of you? Most of us. Take. So we have come here to study. Our parents, our family has got expectations from us. Now when you go home, your younger brother, younger sister may be reading in a school. Bhaiya, Didi, what is this concept of government I was going through in my school book? Then what you will say? What you will say? Hey, you don't know government? Congress government, Modi government, Yogi government, in UP you will say Yogi government. So how you will let the kid understand The meaning of this term government. You see, first of all, you need to tell him that, dear, you see that there are three functions of a state. And by now you may be very clear that when we use the word state, it means a country. Here we are talking about a country. So, first of all, you will tell the kid that, dear, there are some functions of a state, and every state performs three functions for its people. Law making, law implementation, and law adjudication. Law making, law implementation, and law adjudication. These are the three functions. You see, first of all, you will have to get an understanding that why you are reading it. This is the basic things. So, law making. Every country, it makes laws for its people. No doubt in our country you will say, the parliament has made this law or the state legislature has made this law. But outside your country, what the foreign media says, India has passed a law or India had enacted a law related to taxation. India. So India has made a law related to the agriculture which is being criticized by certain sections of the society. So India has made a law. The name is that of the country. Then law implementation. It is also the domain of the state. You see, we know that who implements the law? The bureaucracy, the police, the military, but outside the country, what is there in the foreign media's words? India violated human rights, Sudan violated human rights, America is violating human rights, Sri Lanka violated human rights. The name is that of the state. But because while implementing the laws, there can be high-handedness, there can be violation of human rights. So it is not that the Indian police, but India. It is not the American army, it is America. It is not the Russian army, it is Russia. It is not Israeli army, it is Israel. The name is that of the state. And law adjudication. In our country we know that, or in every country they know that it is the responsibility of the state, it is the responsibility of the judiciary, means courts, to give justice. But outside the country, that country, it never imparts justice to the people. It never imparts justice. The name is that of the state. So that is why we have written that these are the functions of the state. And on behalf of the state, who performs these functions? These functions are performed by the government. So government is an agent of the state. It is a machinery by which the laws are made, implemented, and adjudicated. So it is how you need to communicate to a kid that what is a government. So you need to develop an understanding in the same way so that you will be able to make the other person also understand the things, because these are very basic things. Because generally when we talk about the government, in common parlance, government, we refer to the executive, and that to the political executive. That to the political executive. The Congress government, this government, the UPA government, NDA government, we call like this. But basically, it is an agent of the state, and these functions are performed by the government. And that is what we have written here more descriptively. It is a machinery by which the laws are made, implemented and adjudicated. And these three functions, they are performed by three different organs of the government. Lawmaking is done by the legislature. Law implementation by the executive, and law adjudication is done by the judiciary. Here again some basic things, that because most of us are from the non-humanities background, or humanities background में भी अगर political science नहीं पढ़े होगे तो the things may be difficult also. When we say legislature, legislature is the law making body. Any body that makes laws, it will be termed as a legislature. And across the globe, we have seen two types of legislature. Unicameral and bicameral. So when we said unicameral legislature, some of the countries have got unicameral legislature. Unicameral means one house. Bicameral means two houses. One house and two houses. So some of the countries have got the unicameral legislature. Some of the countries have got bicameral legislature. Examples: China. In China, at the national level, there is a unicameral legislature that is known as National People's Congress. National People's Congress. Only one house is there. So China, we have an example of unicameral legislature. Then when we talk about bicameral legislature, United Kingdom. The legislature of United Kingdom is termed as the Parliament, and the UK Parliament has got two houses. It is House of Lords and House of Commons. If we talk about the US, the legislature of US is termed as Congress. It has also got two houses, Senate and House of Representatives. House of Representatives. Then if we talk about France, they also have got a bicameral legislature. If we talk about India, in India we also term it as parliament. We have got the Council of States. In Hindi it is termed as Rajya Sabha, and we have got the House of the People. It is known as Lok Sabha. So unicameral, bicameral. Now, this part is clear to all of us. So, unicameral legislatures means only one house, bicameral will mean two houses. So, some of the countries have got unicameral legislature, some of the countries have got bicameral legislature, two houses are there. Now, coming to this executive, across the globe also we have seen two types of executive. Temporary and permanent. The ministers, they are the temporary executive. The civil servants, permanent executives. Now, here also some basic things that you people need to develop an understanding why we have got these two types of executive. You see that when we talk about this temporary executives, the ministers, they are our elected representatives, ministers. People elect them. These people may have the vision, these people may have the farsightedness, they may have an understanding about the problems of the people, they may have felt the pulse of the people, but they may lack in the technical aspects with respect to policy formulation and policy implementation. So, they may have an understanding of our problems, but how the problem will be tackled, they may not have an expertise in that field. How the taxpayers' money will be utilized properly, they may not have the technical ability to take decisions in that regard. That is why they had to be helped by a group of civil servants. Objective of both is the same. Why we vote in the elections? Have you ever thought why we vote in the elections? Why we elect our representatives? For the politicians, it can be a festival of democracy. बोलते हैं, but for us, it is a trust. In the elections, when we go and vote to a particular candidate of a particular ideology, we show our trust that if the people of this group, they will come to power, then they will utilize the taxpayers' money in a proper way. That is our expectation That is our trust. So through the election process, we show our trust to a people of particular group. But that is so it is a trust. Why the trust is given? So that these people will be utilizing our, that is a taxpayers' money efficiently. And here, but I told you the problem, they may lack in the technical expertise. That is why we elect them, but we select them. We select them. That is the bureaucrats, the civil servants, through a competitive examination. And these people are considered as experts because the manner in which they are selected and the type of training that they are given, they become experts in policy making and policy implementation. How the taxpayers' money will be utilized properly, that is efficiently, optimum utilization of the resources, that is to be done by the civil servants. The ministers, they come and go. There is no fixed term for the ministers. Never in any book it is mentioned that the term of the prime minister is 5 years. The term of the chief minister is 5 years. It completely depends on the house. If the political party will have a majority, then only the party, the leader will be there, the ministers will be there. And not only this, even the departments keep on changing. The departments keep on changing. You see, if you talk about the national level, in the last Lok Sabha, many persons were there who were the ministers. For example, Anurag Thakur, he was a minister. In this Lok Sabha, no doubt he got elected, but he was not appointed as a minister. He was not appointed as a minister. The ministries also changed. Temporary executives, they can come and go. You see, in Andhra Pradesh, there was change of government. In Telangana, there was change of government. So, the ministers, they come and go. Civil servants, they are there for a permanent period. Retirement age is fixed, 58 years of age, 60 years of age or 62 years of age. They are aware about the continuity of the public policies. Suppose the health minister changes. Earlier the health minister was someone different. Now we have got another person who is the health minister. Change of ministers. But here the officials will be the same in the health ministry. They are aware that okay, Ayushman Bharat, NRHM, these programs and policies of the government are going. So they are aware about the technical things. Both are needed for a country. You need the ministers, that is the temporary one, and you need, because they feel the pulse of the people and they have got the expertise. Now across the globe, here ministers, so we all know. Here, if you talk about the executive, especially the civil servants, across the globe, we have seen two patterns of, ठंड लग रही है क्या तुम लोगों को? हाँ, तो टेम्परेचर ये कर दीजिए. 25 will be ideal. 24, 25 will be ideal. हाँ, ऑफ भी कर दो, अगर ये बोल रहे हैं बच्चे तो ऑफ भी कर दो, कोई इशू. So what I was talking to you on this aspect. Across the world, we have seen two types of bureaucratic system. One, it is the merit based system that is followed in United Kingdom as well as in India also. We have followed the British system, and here basically the merit system is followed and there is permanency. But if we talk about United States of America, there they follow the spoil system. The system that is followed in America is spoil system. In America, all the higher level bureaucrats, they are appointed by the president. and they're the personal choice of the president. With the change of the presidency, they also go. Now you see, on 20th of January next year 2025, Donald Trump will take oath as the President of America. Then the bureaucracy will also change, and the economic advisors and the others who are at the topmost position, they will no longer be there. They all will be Trump's men. So here basically you see that different models are, but in our country, in a United States, United Kingdom, the secretaries, the foreign secretary, the home secretary, all are from the IS cadre. Foreign secretary is from the IFS. So that is the merit based system is followed even at the higher level. Then when we talk about judiciary, judiciary we all know, that is law adjudication, the system of courts. Now coming to this constitution, if we talk about the constitution of any country, say United States of America, it talks about the legislature, that is the US Congress will consist of the Senate and the House of Representatives. How the members of the Senate will be elected, how the members of the House, or we can say the House of Representatives will be elected, how the bills will be passed, everything has been mentioned in the Constitution of United States of America. Similarly, the American president, his election, his impeachment, his powers, responsibilities, everything, and then the provisions regarding the judiciary. The same is with respect to the constitution of every country. If we talk about the Chinese constitution, everything has been mentioned in the Chinese constitution itself. That is, the Chinese legislature will be termed as National People's Congress. These how the members will be elected, everything has been mentioned there. Even they have talked about the political party, that is the Communist Party. So now coming to this aspect. Second one. Acha, there basically in a president, that depends on the type of political system that we have. In a parliamentary system that we have in India, basically we have adopted this system because the bureaucracy needs to be neutral. So neutrality is given importance here, that even if the government changes because of the election, the bureaucrat should be politically neutral. That is why in a parliamentary form of government, we have adopted this merit based system. That is a permanent system. That is a permanent system. But when we talk about the presidential system, so the president gets his own team to work, his own team. And basically the American elections are held on the basis of ideologies. Ideologies are there, Democrats and the Republicans. So at the higher, not at the lower level, but at the higher level, obviously the chief bureaucrat, the main bureaucrats, they should be in adherence with the ideology of the government. So that is why they have adopted that particular system. So with the change of the government, the changes. For example, in India also we have got some appointments which are political in nature. For example, Attorney General, he is an advocate of the government of India. So with the change of the government, the Attorney General also changes. But for others, basically, for example, the CAG is to be appointed. So CAG is to be appointed from among them, the senior most IAS officers. So our pool is there, but in America the pool is not there. Anyone can be appointed. Even in the case of ministers, when we will be discussing the parliamentary and the presidential system, the differences, the things will be more clear to you. Obviously that completely depends on the wishes of the president. That completely depends on the wishes of the president. And what type of political culture that we have, that shapes whether there will be corruption or there will be no corruption. We cannot generalize. that in a presidential system there will be lesser corruption. If the president himself is corrupt, then obviously all the officials will be corrupt. So there will be, we can say, top to down. So it completely depends. Corruption is simply, you cannot generalize that in such type of system there will be more corruption. In such type of system there will be lesser corruption. It can be top to down or it can be bottom to top also. Yes. That we'll be discussing when we'll be discussing the parliament. Basically, the parliament meets for we can say a specific time only. So there are certain other works which are to be done by the parliament. For example, the CAG presents the report. That is what I said. This is only the first class. So in the coming classes, you will get the momentum. You will develop an understanding that how the things will work. Otherwise, if everything will be discussed in the first class, many things will be bouncers on you. So gradually we'll be coming to it. Now, our focus here was to let you understand this concept. That is, the constitution contains the principles and functions of the organs of the government of a state. So the meaning of the state, then government and the organs. So the constitution of a country, it basically talks about the principles and functions of the organs of the government of the state, legislature, executive and judiciary. So for this, to explain this point, we discussed so many things. That was our other aspects which are there with related to the executive, judiciary, legislature. In the coming classes, we will be discussing these things in detail. Now, here you can write as note the objective of a constitution. The objective of the constitution is to provide for a limited government, that is the powers of the government are restricted by the provisions of the constitution. In bracket you can write constitutionalism. So a government which runs in accordance with the provisions of the constitution, that is constitutionalism. Now you say that till now we have discussed two questions from the prelims point of view. First, the meaning of the term state. Second, this note that you have written. That is what I have said, the specific thing. Notes will be the note that the points that you will write as note, they will be the golden sentences. And the UPSC is not going to ask you, hey, what is the definition of the term constitution? But so which of the following statement is correct regarding the constitution? It provides for a limited government, or the other statement can be it put restrictions on the government, the powers of the government, or which of the following is correct regarding constitutionalism? Constitutionalism is a government that runs in accordance with the constitution. So it provides for a limited government. UPSC is very fond of asking this question in the examination. And if you see the last 10-year question papers, then at least 3 to 4 times this question has been asked in the examination. So from the very basics also, the UPSC is asking. That is why we start from the very basics. That is, the student, if the question comes, they are like this, understanding based questions, he will be able to encircle it. But if we talk about only this aspect, And in most of the books, they have written this statement only, this definition only, that the constitution is a legal document and which contains the principles and functions of the organs of the government of a state. But if we talk about the constitutions of most of the countries, they have talked about the rights of the people also. If you talk about the American Constitution, the first 10 amendments of the American Constitution, they have talked about they incorporated the rights of the people. Then if you talk about the British Constitution, they also have the rights of the people. The Bill of Rights is there. Then if you talk about the French Constitution, there is rights of men and rights of the citizens. In our country, fundamental rights. Then in some of the countries, what will be the duties of the state, that has also been mentioned. For example, in our country, it is directive principles of state policy. We have followed the Irish model here. Then if we talk about the some of the countries like the erstwhile USSR, then in the modern times, the Japanese Constitution, then the Constitution of China, they contain the provisions with respect to the duties of the people also. And in our country, we have also incorporated them as fundamental duties. So, in the Constitution, you will find the rights also, you will find the duties of the state also, and the duties of the citizens also. So, if we just say that the Constitution contains the principles and functions of the organs of the government of a state, it will be a narrow definition of the state, of the Constitution. So, one more sentence we need to add on here. It contains the ideals and aspirations of the people. Two words, ideals and aspirations. Ideals basically are the goals that we feel that we have achieved. That we feel that we have achieved. नहीं बोलते हैं महात्मा गांधी इज माई आइडियल, स्वामी विवेकानंद इज माई आइडियल, डॉक्टर अब्दुल कलाम is my ideal, honesty is my ideal. So a parameter has been set and we feel that we have achieved this. So if we talk about a country, in the constitution of a country, the ideals have been mentioned. What type of government you have achieved? Democracy, republican system. Then aspirations of the people are also there. Aspirations are the goals that we have not achieved yet. You all are termed as civil services aspirants. Because you have not become civil servant yet. Your objective is to become a civil servant. That is why you all are termed as civil services aspirants. You aspire to become a civil servant. So, the people of every country, what they aspire to have? They want some type of freedom. They want to be treated equally. They want to live with dignity. That is why the constitutions of most of the countries, they have got the chapters like the rights of the people. What the state shall do to have socio-economic equality in the society. Then what type of law should be there for creating, we can say, a society based on justice. So here basically this is a wider definition of the word constitution, that it is a document having a special legal sanctity which contains the principles and functions of the organs of the government of a state, and it also contains the ideals and aspirations of the people. Now coming to So it was general definition of constitution. So from here 2 questions in the, you need to read like this only. It should not be a lecture, what the teacher is saying. No. What questions are being asked in the examination, that is more important for you. Ye hamesha. So on the daily basis, I will be, I discussed that, I told you that 2 questions will be asked from here. It is known as AQ TQ method. Ask question to a question. So they will not be asking you that, okay, what is the definition of the word constitution, but which of the following statement is correct regarding the constitution? Ask question to a question. Hey, what can be asked from you? Some of the aspects are philosophical in nature. And we have got the governmental aspects. Now, when we say philosophical aspects, we have the preamble, the preamble contains the philosophy of the whole constitution. Then we have got the fundamental rights, we have got the directive principles of state policy, and we have got the fundamental duties. Now some of you may be thinking that why the teacher has incorporated these aspects as philosophical one. You see, it is about the words. What a philosopher does, he imagines. It is the imagination. And if the people will do like this, the world will be like this. So, if and but, that is philosopher. Hey, you are being a philosopher, means you are thinking too much. No, yaar, people should not do like this. Otherwise, the world will be a hell. The society will not be a good place to live. Then kya bolte? Hey, be practical. You are being a philosopher. So, if and buts. Similarly, if you talk about the content of the fundamental rights, directive principles, fundamental rights, the fundamental duties, ifs and buts are there. The state shall not discriminate among the citizens. If the state will not discriminate, then there will be equality. The state shall not discriminate. So, when there will be equality, if the state will not discriminate, then. Similarly, if we talk about the directive principles of state policy, the state shall strive to secure, the state shall strive to secure to all its citizens. So, what the state shall strive? So, if the state will do these things, then the ideal of welfare state can be achieved. Equal pay for equal work. So, basically the state shall strive to secure. So, what will happen? Welfare state. To renounce the practices derogatory to women, it is our duty. So, if we renounce the practices derogatory to women, then the dignity of women will be there. It is not our fundamental duty to give respect to the dignity of women. It is to renounce the practice. So, if we will renounce the practices derogatory to women, then the dignity of women will be there. If and but. And to make these philosophical aspects a reality, we have got these governmental aspects. Because if this aspect is not there, if only this aspect is there, useless. Who will take steps? It is the government. So, the Constitution of India provides for 3 types of government: union or central government, state governments and local self-government. Here state in the terms of Indian constitution, it is the states, that is the Tamil Nadu, Punjab, units we call them, provinces. The executive, legislature and judiciary at both the levels that is at the union level and at the state level. Then the relationship between the union government and the state government, that is the center state relations. Then some institutions like the Election Commission, the CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Election Commission, then Public Service Commission, etc. Because they are needed to run the government. Public Service Commission, it conducts examination to select the officers. Election Commission conducts the election to elect the bureaucrats, that is the executive. And CAG, he audits the accounts of the union government as well as the state government. And many other institutions have been mentioned. Then some miscellaneous provisions are also there, like creation of new states, then citizenship, then emergency provisions, then tribunals, languages, etc. And local self-government, it is at two levels in India, at the rural level and at the urban level. At the rural level, known as Panchayati Raj institutions, and at the urban level, termed as municipal bodies. So, here basically if we talk about the union government, state government, these are all the aspects. And when we talk about local government, the Panchayati Raj institutions and the municipal bodies. How many of you have, you are from the rural background? How many of you have seen the working of Panchayati Raj system? You are from which state? You are from Himachal. You are from Andhra Pradesh. You Peter? UP. How many of you are from UP in the class? 1, 2, 3. Okay. How many of you are from Andhra Pradesh? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How many of you are from Bihar? None of you. Okay. Madhya Pradesh? 2 of you. Okay. Chhattisgarh? Maharashtra? Kerala, Karnataka, 3 of you. Okay. The rest of us, Uttarakhand, Telangana. Achha. Jharkhand, any one of you? You are from Jharkhand. Which place in Jharkhand? You are from Ranchi. So you are from? You are from Odisha. Which place in Odisha? You are from Bhubaneswar. आप कहाँ से हो? You are from? You are from Punjab. I have seen you somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. It's evening class. Oh, so I thought that I have seen this face sometime. So here you say that those who may be from the urban areas, rural areas, they may have seen the working of this local self-government. Most of you may be aware about the working of the urban local bodies, municipal bodies, but many of you may not be aware about this local government at the state level, we can say, sorry, the rural level, because most of us have migrated to the urban areas, so we will not be aware. Now, this is basically the structure, or we can say the synopsis of the topics that we are going to discuss in the coming class. So those of you who had entered this class with a question in your mind that what we are going to discuss in the Indian polity section, this is your synopsis, this is your syllabus. So we will be discussing the philosophical aspects, the preamble, fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, fundamental duties. We will be discussing the union government and the state government as well as the local self-government, and in detail, that is, we can say both the aspects, that is the the static part as well as the dynamic part. Clear? So these were the initial things that I needed to tell you in today's class. In tomorrow's class, we will be continuing our discussion. How many of you have taken PSI here as an optional paper? So you are doing your classes here. At what time your classes are? Achha, in the morning. In the morning. Take. How many of you have taken some other optional papers? How many of you have taken sociology? You have taken sociology. Geography, be anyone? Other than PSIR and sociology? Which paper? Public administration. You? Public administration. Rest, you have not decided. Okay. How many of you have taken our NCERT classes earlier? Okay. इसीलिए ध्यान नहीं दे रहे पढ़ाई में, ध्यान दो. हाँ, ठीक है. तो NCERT में you have read 2 books or 3 books. How many books? Huh? In NCERT, how many books you have? No, in NCERT we have got 4 books, 11th and 12th. 11th and 12th we have got 4 books. 11th, Indian Constitution. For those who don't have the basics clear, you can read that book also. It is we can say the theory part is there. Equality, political theory, equality, justice, democracy. If you wish, how many of you have not done your graduation? You have not completed your graduation. How many of you? All are graduates. Good. Because in many batches I have found the students even of first year are there. Second year students are also there. So it's good that you all are graduates. So you will be appearing in 2026. So you have got time. So be with the class, as Subhanshu sir may have told you also. So whatever the questions will be there, I will be discussing with you in the classes. And after that, go and see the last 10-year, 15-year question papers. So you will have an idea also. And you know, the most important thing regarding attending these classes is that you should have the confidence in you. That is what is lacking in the students nowadays. And they basically feel that it is a status symbol nowadays that we are doing coaching from this institution or that institution. It is a status symbol. It should not be status symbol for us. Yes, what you want to do is, what you need to do is that whatever I will bid, for example, I discuss this aspect with you, basic things. I told you 2-3 questions may be asked on you. So every day, where suppose if I discuss with you preamble, go and see what questions have been asked from the preamble. Whether you are able to answer those questions on the basis of the lecture notes or not. Done. Then there will be two benefits. One, you will go along with the class. Second, you will have the confidence that whatever we are being taught in the class, basically that is relevant for us, and you will have confidence in yourself also. Day-to-day basis preparation. Have a copy of any of the PYQs that is available in the market. I am not aware about what, because the institution has provided me the PYQs, the research team is there. So mains ka to they will give you. Prelims mein what they have done, they have marked the answers also. So that will not be useful for you. So any publication, Arihant publication or any publication you can go through and do it question wise. Do not read randomly that I have read this. Read the topic, try to answer the questions. Because if you read something, you will remain a student. You need to become a candidate. You need to become a candidate. You are sitting here to become a candidate, not to remain as a student. So in order to become a candidate, you should have, okay, this topic, these questions can be asked. This is the question which can be asked in the main examination. This is the structure of the answer. And we have got a team of mentors also who will correct your answers. If you give them the question, even if I give you the question, you can show it to the mentor and he will correct it also. Not a big deal. So your answers will get corrected in the prelims examination, and every day if you feel after the class, if you feel to ask me any question, you feel free to ask. Okay? No, beta, no. PM Bhikshi to just is a bare act, but you'll have to base yourself on extra reading so that you will do value additions. Not too much of books, but yes,